A very good afternoon and thank you for joining us on BTV Global News at 12. I am Ruth Obodu and now the news in detail. Hispanic-owned businesses in Minneapolis are reporting dramatic declines in customers and workers as intensified immigration and custom enforcement operations across the city have created a climate of fear among immigrant communities. The report.
They started targeting us just because of our skin color. And now, because of who we are, we have closed all the doors. And even the door that's supposed to be open, it's constantly being opened and closed so that they can't get in. They are looking at us. What can we do? We're just a group of women and young men in my kitchen with spoons and spatulas serving food. Are we criminals? We're not criminals. Now the real criminals are walking around in green uniforms and wearing federal badges, because they're allowed to do whatever they want.
We're not selling anything. Almost nothing. Maybe 1 or 2 bouquets a day. And we're usually much busier, right? And the situation here is very sad, because people aren't going out. They're staying in their homes because they're afraid of ICE. With all the damage they've done to the people, and all the damage they've done to the city of Minneapolis, and the entire state of Minnesota, which is a very, very beautiful state. And we just want this to end. This is like a nightmare, I think, for many people who don't want to go through this, but we wish they would leave tomorrow.
The U.S. Senate narrowly blocked a bipartisan resolution that would have barred President Donald Trump from ordering further military action in Venezuela without explicit authorization from Congress. The outcome depends a standoff on Capitol Hill over presidential war powers and comes after a dramatic shift by key Republican lawmakers under pressure from the White House. The report.
In a sharply divided chamber, Senate Republicans successfully used a procedural motion Wednesday to dismiss the War Powers resolution by a 51-50 vote. Vice President J.D. Vance broke the tie in favor of Republican leadership, effectively killing the measure. Earlier in the week, the Senate had taken the unusual step of advancing the resolution on procedural votes, with 5 Republicans joining all Senate Democrats in support. That vote, 52-47, signaled bipartisan concern over the Trump administration's action in Venezuela and set up Wednesday's high-stakes showdown. But in the final vote, Senators Josh Hawley and Todd Young reversed their support after pressure from President Trump and reassurances from senior officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, that the United States had no ground troops in Venezuela and that future major military moves would involve Congress. Their shifts were pivotal in handing the GOP a narrow victory. The 3 other Republican senators who had sided with Democrats on the procedural vote, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and Rand Paul, held to their original positions and voted to advance the measure. But their support was not enough to win final passage. The resolution was drafted in response to a surprise U.S. operation earlier this month that resulted in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, an operation critics described as military action carried out without prior congressional authorization. Lawmakers backing the measure argued the Constitution requires Congress to authorize significant use of force, and they expressed broader concern about unchecked presidential power. President Trump had publicly criticized Republican senators who backed the resolution, urging them to reconsider, and Republican leaders mobilized to block the final vote. The result underscores Trump's continued influence over his party and deep division in Congress over foreign policy and war powers. Democrats condemned the outcome, warning it could set a precedent for expanded executive military action without legislative oversight. They have signaled plans to continue pushing for limits on presidential war powers through future legislation. Temitope Oluwafemi reporting for BTV News.
U.S. stocks closed lower as losses in major technology stocks dragged the Nasdaq down, while bank shares extended their decline following mixed quarterly earnings and growing concerns over proposed credit card interest rate caps. The report.
The filing has sent shockwaves through the luxury retail sector and sparked widespread disappointment among long-term consumers who see the move as the end of an era. The company, which oversees high-end retail brands synonymous with American luxury shopping, cited mounting debt, rising operational costs, and sustained shifts in consumer behavior as key sectors behind the decision. Despite efforts to restructure and adapt to a rapidly changing market, Saks Global struggled to balance premium pricing with declining in-store traffic and intense competition from online retailers. Consumers reacting to the news expressed frustration over what they describe as years of growing disconnect between the brand and its core shoppers. Many blamed consistently high prices, reduced in-store experiences, and a perceived lack of innovation for pushing loyal customers away. Others pointed to the company's heavy debt burden, arguing that financial decisions made long before the pandemic left the retailer vulnerable when economic conditions worsened. Online shopping has also played a major role in the company's decline. E-commerce platforms and direct-to-consumer luxury brands have increasingly attracted younger and price-conscious shoppers, offering convenience, competitive pricing, and personalized experiences that traditional department stores have struggled to match. While Saks Global invested in digital platforms, consumers say the transition was not enough to offset the steady decline of physical retail. For some shoppers, the bankruptcy represents more than a business failure. Longtime customers describe Saks store as cultural landmarks place associated with holiday shopping, special occasion, and a sense of prestige that defined luxury retail for generations. The news has prompted nostalgia and sadness, with customers saying they feel they are witnessing the disappearance of a familiar part of American retail history. As bankruptcy proceedings move forward, Saks Global is expected to pursue restructuring options that may include store closures, asset sales, or a shift towards a more digitally focused model. The outcome remains uncertain, but analysts agree that the collapse highlights the ongoing challenges facing traditional luxury department stores in a post-pandemic digital-first economy. For disappointed customers, however, the bankruptcy confirms a reality they say has been building for years. The luxury retail world they once knew is changing, and some of its most iconic names may not survive the transition. Evelyn Isabelle reporting for Beetv News.
U.S. President Donald Trump has restated his long-standing interest in taking control of Greenland, insisting he's not backing down from the idea and expressing doubt over Denmark's ability to protect the strategically important island. The report.
We need Greenland for national security, so we're going to see what happens.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday made clear he was not backing down from his bid to take control of Greenland, saying he still believed that something will work out.
Greenland's very important for the national security, including of Denmark. And the problem is not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland, but there's everything we can do.
His comments followed a meeting at the White House between the foreign ministers of Greenland and Denmark and Trump's vice president and secretary of state.
We didn't manage to change the American position.
Denmark's foreign minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen said fundamental differences over Greenland remained.
The discussions focused on how to ensure the long-term security in Greenland. And here our perspectives continue to differ, I must say. The President has made his view clear, and we have a different position. It's clear that the President has this wish of conquering over Greenland.
Rasmussen said the U.S. and Denmark plan to form a working group to discuss a broad array of concerns regarding the Danish overseas territory. Trump had repeatedly said in recent weeks that the strategically located and mineral-rich island is vital to national security and that only the U.S. can handle threats from Russia and China. Rasmussen disagreed.
But I must say that, of course, we share, to some extent, his concerns. There is definitely a new security situation in the Arctic and the High North. It was basically about security, and as I said, even though there's not an instant threat from China and Russia, at least not a threat we can't accommodate.
Greenland and Denmark say the island is not for sale, and prominent EU countries have backed Denmark, which is a member of the NATO alliance. Ahead of the meeting, Greenland and Denmark said they had begun to increase their military presence in and around Greenland, in close cooperation with NATO allies, as part of their promise to beef up Arctic defense. Germany, Sweden, and Norway each announced on Wednesday that they will be sending military personnel to the island this week.
Inside a Brooklyn cafe, Iranian chef and restaurant owner Nassim Ali Khani has been glued to television coverage and social media updates, anxiously searching for information about loved ones thousands of miles away. For days, she has been unable to reach relatives in Iran as protests there escalate into deadly violence. The report.
I have been glued to social media, news from outside of Iran, all kinds of sources, but I haven't been able to reach any of my family members or friends.
Far from the unrest in Iran, New York City chef Nassim Ali Khani says the news of deadly protests in her home country feels painfully close. The owner of Brooklyn's Sofre Cafe and Restaurant described to Reuters a feeling of desperation for news of loved ones in Iran.
I am a basket case, and I can't think straight, and I can't even work straight, but compared to what they are going through, what we go through is nothing. I was in Iran a few months ago, and I just couldn't believe how my middle-class family could not even simply afford a basic meal. And I come from a middle-class background, let alone to the poor people. There is no future, there is no job, there is no water, there is no electricity.
Social media video shows the massive protests, which began on December 28th over dire economic conditions and have rapidly escalated in recent days. An Iranian official has said more than 2,000 people have died. A rights group put the toll at more than 2,600.
For me, it's incredibly emotional to witness the destruction of my country through the 12 days of war, and now, like, buildings burning, massacres is happening, body bags on the floor. And is it true? Is it AI? Is it news? Is it reality?
The flow of information from inside Iran has been hampered by an internet blackout. But Ali Khani says she sees what's happening.
Across the board, I'm witnessing unnecessary harm done to people who just want a basic life. And that injustice is killing me more than anything. And the fact that it's voiceless, like I have no voice now. It's not about me or, oh God, I don't know what's happening to my family. Deal with it. I'm an adult. I can deal with this. What I cannot deal with is 2,000 young, innocent lives being killed.
And now to the business news. The federal government has ruled out refunds of signature bonuses or asset exchanges in the 2025 oil licensing round, warning investors to fully assess risks before bidding. The report.
Speaking at the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission pre-bid conference in Lagos, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources said the Petroleum Industry Act does not permit refunds or alternative once bids are concluded. He stressed that oil licenses are government assets meant for development, not speculations, adding that all technical and commercial risks rest solely with bidders. The NUPRC chief executive said reforms under the PIA have eliminated assets hoarding, noting that non-performing licenses would be withdrawn. She disclosed that the government has revised signature bonuses to lower entry barriers and is targeting crude oil production of 3 million barrels per day by 2030 through faster approvals and regulatory efficiencies. Economic recovery fragile despite signs of stability, ICANN. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria said Nigeria's economy is showing early signs of stabilization, but warns that progress remains fragile without strong accountability and transparency. At ICANN's 2026 Economic Outlook in Lagos, the Institute's president, Malam Haruna Yahaya, said GDP growth rose above 4% in mid-2025. Inflation eased and foreign reserves improved, but stressed that gains could easily be reversed without fiscal discipline. Participants noted that while business confidence has improved, poverty and inequality persist, calling for better execution of reforms. ICANN emphasized that accountability is critical to ensuring tax reforms, revenue mobilization, and public spending translate into tangible benefits for Nigerians. Power sector loses 187 billion naira to unbilled energy. Nigeria's power sector lost an estimated 187 billion naira between July and October 2025 due to electricity supplied to distribution companies but not billed to customers, according to industry data. Figures from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission show that billing inefficiencies, poor metering, energy theft, and operational losses continue to weaken the sector's finances. In October alone, this cost failed to bill over 48 billion naira worth of electricity, with Benin, Yola, and Ibadan discussed among the worst performers. The regulator noted that weak billing and collection efficiency threatens market stability as revenue shortfalls affect payments across the electricity value chain. NERC has again urged discourse to accelerate meter deployment to curb losses and improve revenue recovery. Zainab Mohammed reporting for BTV News.
And now to the entertainment news. Popular Afrobeat singer Davido has broken its silence after losing an estimated $495 million, that is $348,000, following the Super Eagles' defeat to Morocco at the AFCON tournament. The singer had earlier revealed via social media that he placed a $50,000 bet on Nigeria to win the match, with a projected payout of $348,000. However, the Super Eagles failed to secure victory, losing the encounter after a penalty shootout. And also, Ariana Grande and Jonathan Bailey set for theatre reunion. The report.
Davido, reacting to the outcome, expressed disappointment but remained supportive of the national team. He had earlier stated that he was willing to double his stake if Nigeria reached the finals, a move that generated widespread reactions online. The loss has since sparked conversation across social media, with fans reacting to the size of the wager and the risk involved in sports betting. Nigerian comedian and actor Brother Shaggy, born Samuel Perry in Ogun State, has continued to solidify his place as one of Nigeria's most successful entertainers. Influenced by his late father, a drama teacher, Brother Shaggy developed an interest in acting at a young age and later studied creative arts at the University of Lagos. He gained prominence through comedy skits shared on Instagram, eventually breaking through with his viral parody, Jesu in Mushin. The comedian has won several awards, including the African Magic Viewers' Choice Award for Best Actor in a Comedy in 2022 and 2023. In addition to acting, he has ventured into music, releasing songs such as Oya Hits Me, blending Afrobeat and Fuji sounds. Hollywood stars Ariana Grande and Jonathan Bailey are set to reunite on stage for a revival of the award-winning musical Sunday in the Park with George, scheduled for summer 2027 at London's Barbican Theatre. The duo, who previously starred as Glinda and Fiyero in the film adaptation of Wicked, teased the announcement on Instagram with a photo referencing the famous George Seurat painting that inspired the musical. Created by Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine, the production explores the life of an artist consumed by his work. Tickets for the revival are expected to go on sale in May, with theatre fans already expressing excitement ahead of the London run. And that's it on the entertainment news. Evelyn Izibili reporting for BTV News.
And now to sports. The federal government has commended the Super Eagles for their performance at the 2025 African Cup of Nations, assuring the team that Nigeria has remained proud of them despite their semi-final elimination. In a statement issued by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, the government praised the players for displaying character, unity and resilience while representing the country. Idris noted that the Super Eagles embodied the true spirit of the green and white jersey, stressing that playing for Nigeria goes beyond winning trophies. He urged the team to remain united, learn from the experience and return stronger, while assuring them of the nation's continued support. Nigeria were knocked out after losing 4-2 on penalties to host nation Morocco following a goalless draw after extra time. In a match highlighted by strong goalkeeping display from Stanley Nwabali and Yassine Bonu. And that is all on our 12 p.m. Global News. Thank you for joining and stay tuned for our 3 p.m. news updates. I am Ruth Obodu. Goodbye.